Hey, best morning. So it's day 26 of the 29-day challenge, and I'm almost done. There's only 3 days left. Today's day is called The Greatest Ones You've Never Heard of. So David develops a close relationship with this guy named Tim Cohn. He's like the Phil Jackson of the Philippines. So that's like a really good basketball coach. He invites This guy, Tim Cohn, invites David to fly to Manila in the Philippines to work with his team for a week. He doesn't really need him, but he invites him out there. Now, word gets out that this guy, Tim, was bringing in a shooting coach. And if it made sense for this basketball coach to bring in a shooting coach, then other people were like, yeah, of course, we should bring one in too. Because if he brings one in, we should bring one in, including Manny Pacquiao. So if you guys know Manny Pacquiao, he's the famous boxer. So he's the boxing icon turned senator, turned boxer again, turned senator again. He's also a huge basketball fan. And he owns his own team, right? Because he's got the money to do so. So he does a little playing, coaching, managing. He's all over the place. So he invites David to come work with his team for a day so he can meet him. So he gets the kind of not permission, but he gets the okay from Tim Cohn. Tim Cohn's like, yeah, sure, of course you should go meet him. So he goes out there thinking he's going to meet this like stand-offish millionaire who's not, but instead he finds a really humble, genuine, caring, loving man who wants nothing more than to help his people and to have hope and love. He only cares about his players, about the coaches and everyone else in the organization. That's it. He has no self-interest. Pacquiao grew up poor, and he could have left the country, but instead he stayed behind and he poured everything, his money and his time, into his own country to develop it. So 100 years from now, Pacquiao might be remembered because he's just on another level. But for the most of us, we all want to leave a legacy. But what David explains is most of us, and I don't think he wants to sound like cynical, but most of us are not going to leave a legacy that people are going to remember us 100 years from now. Because it's very, very rare for that person to be, Martin Luther King, Mother Teresa. Who else do you remember from 100 years ago? So no one will know we existed, much less any of the things we accomplished. But if we focus on positively impacting at least one person, that's the true definition of legacy. That's what David says. At least impact one person. So I want to reach millions, but if I reach at least one person, which I have conversations with people and they ask me about some advice about their mother, or someone asks me business advice, or they tell me about some situation with their kids, and I listen really well, and I'll say, I had this situation, or here's what I think might work, and I give people ideas or advice, and I love it because I just love to. I don't. For some reason, I'm very suited for that. I like giving advice. As a lawyer, that's what we do as well, right? We take a position, we try to defend it, we give advice. So I enjoy doing that. But also it helps people, and people, and that's the real beauty is I get to help people. And so people listen and they're like, wow, that's a good idea, Steve. Let me try that. So, and I've helped at least one person. But so this is what he talks about is it might go unnoticed. You might not become famous. I might not become famous. But if I helped at least one person through these videos or through my book that I'm going to be writing or just through talking to people, then I've already accomplished my goal. I've already left a legacy because your legacy will last a lifetime in the person that you've helped. So he talks about this guy, Ron Adams. most people, unless you're a basketball fanatic, don't know who he is. So Ron Adams, sorry. So Ron Adams, his legacy will live on forever, but most people don't know who he is. But if you've heard of household names like Steph Curry, the greatest players these days, you wouldn't know who they are if it wasn't for this guy Ron. He's poured his life into others and never takes any credit for it. So the mindset pivot David wants me to take, or wants us to take, is to positively impact one person's life. And you will be on their billboard forever. So although it's beautiful to try to get likes on these videos and get some comments and get some likes on Facebook, because we all want attention. It makes us feel good, right? We're creatures that crave attention. And that's not a bad thing. We want to be liked. We want to be popular. You want to be funny. You want to be able to walk into a bar, say a joke, and everyone laughs and gets to know you, versus you walk in, say a joke, and people look at you weird and you have to walk out, or just kind of sit down with your tail between your legs because you weren't funny. So once you put yourself out there, you want to get attention. You want to make people feel good, and it makes you feel good. So, but if you don't become famous for doing so, or you don't, but if as long as one person laughed at your joke, as long as one person took your advice, if I do a speaking event and there's only one person in the audience or one person listening, then it worked. Then I've done my job. And that's a good mindset, because I'll be on their billboard forever. So I might not be 100 years, the whole universe, everyone's going to remember me. That's okay. Really, it's okay. But as long as one person, I've made an impression, a positive impression on at least one person, then I've done my job and I've left a legacy. So that's a very good mindset to have, and I can appreciate that. So his blueprint action plan, he's got a heart that's divided into 5 spaces. And he says, inside the heart, write down the 5 best parts of yourself and the ways you want to share them with the world every day. These aren't anything that would make a billboard. They're just very real ways you can make everyday life better for the people around you by being the best version of yourself. So he gives examples of stuff he's done, like giving out heartfelt compliments to his wife, to anybody he sees. So I do that too. I'm like, oh, cool shirt, or I like your sneakers, man. Those are cool, and it makes people like, oh, thanks, and they smile. So that's a nice way to, like, or I tell people, oh, you look sharp, or you look like you belong on TV, and people just, oh, they lighten up. They love compliments. So if you can just give someone a random compliment, it works. So I do that. Make sure my wife and kids have the opportunity to follow their passions. I love that one. I do that too. Be so confident in my own skin that it makes others confident in themselves. Have coffee, a smile, and a kiss ready for my wife when she wakes up. Help improve everyone who reaches out to me with a passion for basketball so they can teach others down the road. Right? So here are my 5. I enjoy dreaming and doing it with my wife and kids. We sit together and dream about how we want our life to be in the house and the car, and what we're going to be doing, where we're going to go, and how it's going to be. And then we actually go and do those things, and we live out the dreams. It's really cool. Number 2, and this is, I do it from my heart, right? So I enjoy teaching my kids lessons. Sometimes it's annoying to them, but I like to teach them lessons that I've learned. I like to teach them things that I wish I knew when I was a kid, like some of this personal development stuff. I've only started learning it when I was in my 20s. So I'm like, I wish I knew this stuff when I was a kid. And then I try to expose them to different things and cultures so they could find their passions and they could follow their passions, and I'll support them. Because I tell them, look, this is what I think you should do, or like, or try, or, but really, you do what you love. Find something you love and do it. I'll support it. Number 3, believe it or not, I'm very good around the house, right? One of my jobs used to be to clean a beauty salon. So I'm very good with that stuff. So I enjoy, in a weird way, getting chores done. So I do the trash, I clean the kitchen, the bathrooms. I do laundry. I make sure everybody's fed. I try to help with the food shopping, the cooking, heating stuff up. So I really try to help my wife with that stuff, and for the family, like I do that from my heart. Number four is I appreciate the opportunity that anybody ever gives me to give them advice. So that means they've opened themselves up to me, and that's not an easy thing to do. Is to, like, kind of bring yourself to somebody and say, "I need help," or "Can you give me advice?" Um, and it helps tremendously. I've done it, right? You come to somebody and say, "Listen, I need to talk to you about something. Can you give me some advice, or at least hear me out and see what you think?" And so anyone who's ever done that, allowed me to enter their lives and do that, I am very appreciative of that opportunity. And I like giving that advice. I like listening to people's situations and stories, and then I'll give them advice from something I've heard from somebody else. And and then I learn from those situations as well, because I see, like, did it work? I'll follow up with them. And I know, did my advice work or not? And if it did, I can file that into my file cabinet and say, okay, this advice worked. So next time someone asks for a similar situation, I can pull back that rule and say, listen, I had two situations like that now, or three situations, different people. This is sort of how they handled it. This is the thing that I can suggest to you based now on experience. Like, people have used this and it works. Try this. Okay, now I have number four, number five, and I have 10 people who've tried this method and it works. And that gate adds to my knowledge and ability to help so many more people, because now more people are going to be like, look, Steve really knows what he's talking about. Steve knows. Go talk to Steve. And I can just have helped so many more people, because it just exponentially grows. So I really appreciate any time somebody's ever come to me or gives me that opportunity. It means the world to me. And number five for this list, from my heart, is I'm a great contractor. Like, I'm really a good contractor. I've been doing this for years now, very good at it. And although I'm trying to switch into this and become an author and speaker and write books, I enjoy that more than the contracting. I won't forget where I came from, and I remember my heart. It's one of my passions, is the contracting, the carpentry, putting together a project for somebody, helping them design it, understanding how their family is going to use the space, and telling them, listen, why don't we move the stove over here? Oh, and we're going to put the island like this because this is how you guys use it. Do you need a TV? No, you don't like a TV in this space because it'll distract you guys. All right, no TV. Let's put a little workstation there. So I try to work with the space they have, sort of with the budget they have. I piece it all together. I arrange all the things. And then in the end, they're going to be enjoying this thing for the next 10 or 20 or 30 years, right? Like, it's a long game. And so I love being able to give that to other people. And so that's part of me, but it's got to be on my terms. All right, that's my five. See you tomorrow. Thanks.